in Nigeria too, there's a planned protest for the 1st of August. Youth groups are being mobilized, you know, seeing what is happening in Kenya and Uganda. And the demands are really very, very simple.
Yeah.
Bad governance, poverty, high cost of living, improving security. Nigeria is such a dangerous place now. There's kidnapping every now and then,
Yeah, I mentioned
and
every time you can't even tell your friends if you're in town. Yeah.
exactly. And government spend so much money in governance and there's no transparency. So people have had it, they're fed up and they feel a peaceful protest would address this. And the government is beginning to, talk about it. They want to engage with them. But because there's no people don't trust the government, they still feel they need to go ahead with, with the planned protest, which is supposed to
Okay.
start on the 1st of August.
Yeah. So let me end here because we're gonna move on. Here's the problem.
Yeah.
I think we know that in the Sahel they have the right idea. They have a
Sure,
military
sure.
government, but the Sahel countries to me are very close to socialist because they're going to take control of their resources. So here's what I'm saying. In Nigeria, Uganda, Kenya, they have one thing in common. They're British colonies of the
Yeah.
past in America. And they're doing things headlessly, which I mean is they're protesting, but they don't know where they're headed. So this is where we need a true African union in which we have a pan-African Black consciousness movement in which we say that we control our resources for the betterment of our people. And even if white folks from England want to come to our countries, they can come because we're socialists and we believe in humans and we can live well. So what I'm saying is that unless these three countries realize that they're connected, Nigeria, um, Kenya,
Kenya and Uganda.
and Uganda, and even Congo. Once they realize they're connected, then they can say what we are fighting for is our resources, and we want to control our destiny and everything else like that. And then they also have to say we are also part of Africa, so we're part of the Sahel movement, whether or not those guys are military leaders. And then we need a total African union. South Africa is in the middle. South Africa has a critical culture. So I don't think South Africa can come so close to a civil war, but it has a mixture between corruption and also BRICS and socialism. So South Africa is in the middle ground. But the southern region of Africa, West Africa, the Sahel, and the eastern need to come together for a true African union, which will be better than what Gaddafi wanted. Because I like Gaddafi, but I don't think he even envisioned it as it needs to be. We need to envision it as Cabral, as Nkrumah, as what's the guy who was killed in Congo? Lamumba.
Lumumba,
These
yeah, yeah.
are the people that we need to study. Also, Fanon. I'm not a super Fanon fan because he was more Eurocentric, but we need to take everything together and realize we're one continent and our division is hurting us. Europe has an EU. The West
Yeah.
has the West has NATO. South Americans are together with their language. So all Africans need to come together and say, we'll compete against each other. We're not the same, but and we need to do black consciousness. And what Lorato said, black consciousness just means our children will eat and there will be peace and the land will enrich everyone. That's a Native American thing. The Native Americans say that the land doesn't belong to us. The land is our mother and we are just the guardians. And we need to take that approach to land and to what we have to say. Very quickly, Lorato, in a few minutes, not even a few minutes, a few seconds, your thought, then we'll move on to South Africa.
Yeah, yeah. I think your point of resources makes me think of well, the 2 points you make on the EU and on resources.
Yeah.
A few things that I also saw in passing online. This image. There was an image that was posted of Dubai. I think in the 70s. Before it became an oil-rich place. Before
Yeah, and they use the oil money to develop themselves. Yeah, continue. Sorry. Yeah.
to develop the space,
Yeah.
and of course that also has a lot of issues with it in terms of how capital moved in and
Yeah,
and
yeah. It came
and
from
sort of,
everywhere. Yeah.
yeah, and also created sort of like an unequal society within that space. But that is kind of, for me, a good example where you can see how when resources are used inland as
Yeah.
opposed to taken out, what
Yeah.
it is
And
that they
also it was
can create.
myopic because Dubai and Arab Emirates, they're doing well, but they don't care about Palestine because they're doing well for their people. So it's a double. Take care of
Yeah,
your people, but take care of your region also. But yeah, it has to be a balance. Continue. Sorry.
yeah, it has to be a balance. But
Yeah.
but even the inequality within
Yeah, there's a big
um,
inequality. Yeah,
between
because you have those
within the
sheiks who are very
UAE.
rich. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah, yeah. I mean, there was all that talk around when Qatar was having the World Cup around migrant labor systems that they were using there that are
yeah. It's
deplorable.
basically slaves, and many of them were Africans. What I mean by
Yeah,
Africans
yeah,
is West Africans and Black Africans were used as those
yeah,
types
yeah.
of things. Yeah, yeah,
So there's still a lot of those problems because the system is still capitalist.
yeah,
It needs cheap labor
yeah.
and all those kinds of things. And then
But I think it's a
the
start.
other
It's a
thing,
start because at least they're
yeah,
taking care a little bit of their people. Continue. Yeah, yeah,
yeah. And then the other thing that you mentioned was with regards to the EU. Another thing that I saw in passing today was this George Carlin interview or discussion that he was taking part in, and they were talking about conspiracy theories and things like that. And he's like, you don't even need a conspiracy because
no, no.
these people know like what their mission is,
Oh yeah,
and how they've been monopolizing in terms of like how you see um, seven oil companies becoming two, or three oil companies becoming two oil companies, while you
becoming
only
one.
have two political parties in the United States.
Yeah,
Because
it's a logical connection, and you don't even need to
yeah,
say
yeah, yeah,
perfect example. You don't need to talk about conspiracy. Israel is in an oil-rich area, and they are basically killing children. They're shooting children. It's not that they're killing
yeah,
Hamas.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, of course, because there are all those gas reserves in the
yeah,
Mediterranean as well,
yeah. And very
close to
quickly, I want to give
Palestine.
a shout out to the Houthi. They're not afraid of anybody. They're fucking America and Israel up right now. Those people that they
Yeah,
call mountain animals, they're doing well. Shout out to the Houthi because they're only doing it for ideology, not just for strategy. So continue. Sorry.
yeah. So
I hope they
you
don't
can
ban our show tomorrow.
so you can see, regardless of whether there are conspiratorial meetings or
No.
whatever, like they don't even have to have a meeting, as George Cullen said. They already know when they walk
Yeah,
into the
bro, it's the
room.
logic. It
What,
doesn't
what,
mean it. You know what they say? If
yeah,
it looks like a horse and it acts like a horse, don't worry, it's a horse. It doesn't matter what the conspiracy is. Yeah. Yeah.
yeah. So and I think that is the problem when it comes to this continent in Africa, that when we walk to the room, we're all sort of blowing from different horns,
Yeah.
but trying to play the same tune, and it's
So,
discordant at best.
yeah. So I'm going to move on, but we're going to say this again. Black consciousness, Pan-Africanism, humanism, Kwantu, voodoo, everybody, Europeans, whites, blacks, Asians. This is what the African movement is, but it starts with taking control of our resources. And then the whole world is open to us. Thank you very much.